All right, hey, I appreciate each and every last one of you for honoring us and coming up here, driving from your particular location to be with us. You didn't have to be here, but I do appreciate you being here. As a matter of fact, you probably demonstrated out of the whole of Canada that you're definitely interested in change. You know something is gravely wrong, whether it be on the social, the political, the economic, or the religious front. You know that something is wrong, and there's very few solutions out there. I'm just a man just like anybody else who has made a concerted effort to make sure that I've done whatever I can to make change in my life and influence as many people as I can possible before the breath goes out of my body. There's a lot of things, there's many topics we can discuss here tonight. We want to make sure when we go over these things that if you have questions, you can write them down, and then we're going to open up the floor for a time for you to ask questions. Now, I'm a little bit different than preachers that actually come brutally honest, straightforward from this particular book that everybody seems to carry around and very few people know a little bit about. I probably chewed some of the same dirt as many as you have. I'm not going to really go over a bio because if you've been listening to me any length of time, you pretty much know my background, you know what I'm doing, where I'm coming from, you probably know the reason why I'm up here. But the ideal here tonight is to stimulate thought. Is to make sure that you and then those of you who are going to be viewing this particular video at a later time, that you come to a greater understanding of how to move forward in the time that we're living in now, to prepare yourself, not only you, but your spirit, your soul, and your body, but to preserve yourself from what's getting ready to hit not only this land right here, but all across the world. So we need this kind of understanding in the hour that we're living in, and you need to actually become proactive in your life rather than doing like I see with a lot of Canadians as well as Americans having an apathetic mindset. You need to make sure you become proactive and you actually start doing rather than talking about the things that you need to do and they never get done. Or you wish you had another day, or you do like so many people do, have many regrets and say, I wish I had a chance to do that all over again, then I would do it different. The ideal is to not have any regrets. The ideal is that you are living today, you are breathing today, and you are receiving information, receiving knowledge today. It's up to you to exercise your sovereignty to determine whether you're receiving the truth or not. And if it's not the truth, then you need to take that, throw it away, and then continue on in your life and hope that somewhere down the road that you make some type of change. But if it is the truth, then it's going to require change. And the reason why most people today make very little moves, if any, is because it's too painful to make the change. We're people of convenience. We love staying in our comfort zone. We don't like changing. We want change, but we don't want it at our expense. We want it at the expense of somebody else. So before I go on, let's go ahead and open up here with a short moment of prayer. All right? Heavenly Father, we thank you for all things. We thank you for bringing us up here safely, myself and Sister Carol. We thank you, Father, for allowing us to speak to your people here. I ask you to guide my heart, my mouth, my spirit, to speak something to impart wisdom to these people here tonight, that they'll be able to take whatever you allow to enter into their minds, their ears, and their conscience, that they will be a performer of the word and not just a hearer only. We thank you for Brother Steve and Sister Wenda making this event possible and bringing us up here to Canada. We've had a wonderful time with them, and we ask your blessings upon each and every soul here tonight and those that are going to be listening to this particular video presentation in the near future. We bless you and ask you to help us in our mind. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, I see that Brother Steve has a couple of things written down here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the religious part. All right, we call it religion because that's the term that people are familiar with. Most people seem to think that they have a grasp. I used to think that I had a grasp of what truth was until I started doing my own independent research. Then I come to find out that the things that are presented to us is not so. So I've had to actually exercise autonomy, exercise independent thinking to where I would actually go out and actually do my own independent research and then come to a conclusion based on what I researched, and not only that, but what I read in the Word. Now, the biggest mistake that most people make is that they go out and they research something looking at all the secular sources, and all the secular perspectives and viewpoints, and they never come from the source that is the truth first. So the first thing that people need to do is know what this book says first, this Bible right here. Know what this Bible says first before you go venture out seeking what you would call truth, because you're going to be left confused. Because if you try to use the source of those people out there as opposed to this right here, it's going to bring about confusion. Now it's amazing how this book right here is the best-selling book in the world, and people still, even though they go to theological schools, or divinity schools, or whatever you want to call higher learning, education, or whatever it is, it still has not had the impact upon people's lives like it should. And there's a reason for this. But first of all, the biggest mistake is that everybody wants to be grafted into something. Everybody wants to be grafted into an actual nation and a people who they themselves don't believe it exists. They say that, okay, we know that the Israelites are the real true people of Yah. We know that they were the family of Yah. But yet and still, if you look at Christianity, look at Islam, you look at every major religion in this world, they all avoid the truth that is actually written down in the pages of their book. Now, you know those who are actually disciples of Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, because the things that are written down in the gospel, it also follows them. He said, these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues. Most people only have a mental scent of what this book says, and they become traditionalized with the different traditions that we've all been influenced by, but very few people can actually demonstrate the power that Jesus said that we would have once he goes into the Father. And when you see those people, and I'll quote it again, these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. Well, we have a few of you I know for sure that you cast out devils because you've been to Straitway. But there's many of you who say you believe, but yet you have never casted out one devil. So what type of belief is that? The world today, the way it's conditioned, it has conditioned us after a particular thought pattern. It's a Greek thought pattern. It's called an abstract viewpoint. What that means is, if I was to take a picture up here and just throw a bunch of paint up on it, you won't be able to make any sense of what it is. It's just an abstract painting. That's how we process our thought. That's how we think today. We think from an abstract mindset. If I ask you, if I ask you to produce what you would call faith today, they have already conditioned us and showed us that faith is something that we can say to. Meaning, okay, do you believe that Jesus is the Christ? Yeah, I believe he's Jesus Christ. You believe he's the Son of Yah? Oh, yeah, I believe he's the Son of Yah. Yeah. Good, you're a child member of this church, and now you're saved. And people have fell for them. That's why the whole time, nothing about their life has changed whatsoever at all. And they've done this simply because of the way that we have all, every single one of us, whether you be an American or Canadian, it makes no difference. It's irrelevant. The curriculum that they have all trained us by from the time we busted the matrix coming out of our mother's womb to this viewpoint right now, we have all been trained, coerced, and manipulated to function after a world that they have formed themselves. Do you understand that? And so now, the irony of all this is that they formed this world. Now we're functioning in this world, and we actually think that we're actually functioning after our own thought patterns. We think our thoughts originate with ourselves. We think that we are the ones that's in charge of this. A thought comes to our mind, you believe it originated from you, but they have already programmed you, kind of like you would program a computer when you go to the store. So if you didn't place it in there yourself, if you didn't sit down yourself and actually look at the information, and then you decided yourself whether you're going to receive or reject it, then you have been programmed. So you have been trained and not educated. And that's how 99.9% of the people on this earth think, because that is the way that the powers that be want it. Now, being a Hebrew, or if you want to be in the Hebrew faith, what is commonly called the Israelite faith, if you're going to function after that, you're going to have to start exercising what I'll continue to keep using over and over again, self-autonomy. They view things from a concrete viewpoint, meaning things that you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. So you can put something to it. I often use the song over and over again, he leadeth me beside the still waters. Okay, you can see water, you can relate to water, you can actually put an image in your mind to relate what water is. But when you go from an abstract viewpoint and you're trying to figure out what he's trying to say, it's going to bring nothing but confusion with you, because you don't understand that these people in this book that is originally written about, who the Most High God is their God and their God alone, when he spoke to these people, he spoke to them in ways that they could understand. him speaking, and not where we would have to wreck our minds and wreck our brains and everything is left up to the imagination to see if we can all figure it out, or you can come up with the best solution, or you come up with the best solution. Every one of them clearly understood. And that's the reason why we're in a state of confusion today. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about government of the world, because I heard the brother right here make a statement earlier today, which I want to use the Bible to actually make sure we put him online to what the book says. I don't want you to believe anything that I say. I want you to check, test, prove everything. Unlike the way all of us did whenever we went to a church as a sinner. We just went to the church that our mother and father took us to. We sit down, we listen to what the preacher said, and we said we believe, and then we lived our life pattern out there. Even though we heard what they said, we really truly didn't believe it because we didn't live it. Ain't that correct? That's correct. So if you become proactive and stuff, you start to take charge of yourself. Your sovereignty is in the Most High. Today I'm dealing with a lot of people. I'm dealing with a lot of people who are fighting for their rights, fighting for their liberty, fighting for their sovereignty after this world sort and after this world mindset and after this world Satan is not dead. Jesus said in John 8:32, you should know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So there's a lot of people claiming know the truth, yet and still they're not free. Jesus also said, if my kingdom of this world, then my servants fight. Since my kingdom is not of this world, therefore my servants are not fight. In other words, there's a time for it. There's a time and place for everything. So you have to be in the right mindset, because if not, you'll go out here and join up with some guys, and the next thing you know, they'll send you off to war, militias and stuff like that, and you'll be the one dead, and your family will not have either a father, or a mother, or a brother, or anybody, or a cousin to help bring them up in life. So there's a lot to be desired. So we're going to go ahead and touch on some of those, as well as, I see you got family protection and deliverance. We'll hit on some hands-on deliverance if you got questions about spiritual warfare and deliverance. Now, from the very beginning, the people of this book, the Most High God, you know that he chose Abraham. And he chose Abraham out of the land of the Ur of the Chaldeans. And he had bought him, Chaldeans, he bought him all the way over into the land of Canaan. And he told him to get thee up, get out of thy father's house, because I'm going to make you a great nation. You're going to be my people. Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob. And then Jacob had his name changed to Israel, because he wrestled with the angel of Yahweh. I'm sure we're all familiar with this. And Jacob had 12 sons. And out of the 12 sons come the 12 tribes of Israel. Now notice, this is one family on the face of the planet Earth. Only one family alone. When you go to Genesis, the 10th chapter, you'll read about the table of nations. And in the table of nations, you got the sons of Noah, which are Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And each one of these sons are the progenitor of a particular nation. Japheth is the progenitor of the Gentile nations, which today, the way we have all been influenced in Christian after European Christianity, whether you be American or Canadian, we just assume the Jews, the people who are sitting over there in this new Khazaria, the land they call Israel, we assume that these people are the so-called people of God, which in actuality, in fact, they're not. They're actually Gentiles. Just like the book said, they come from the seed of Japheth. But we have all been conditioned to believe that everybody else is Gentiles and they're all Jews. So that's fallacy number one that needs to be torn out from the very beginning. And then you have Ham, which is the progenitor of what is commonly called today as the African nations, or the nations in Africa, or the black people, the dark-skinned black people. And then you have Shem, which also, at that time, was also a black or brown skinned nation people. Now, what modern day history don't want you to know is that from these three populated the whole entire world, but from the beginning of history all the way up until we get to the time where the Greeks come into play. The Greeks come into play. Shem and Ham were the only two that did any intermingling whatsoever at all. Japheth, the seed of Japheth was nowhere in the mix whatsoever at all. So when you see a movie called 10 Commandments, you see Charlton Heston's up there playing Moses. And you notice the one miracle he never did do was taking his white hand and stick it inside of his cloak right here and had it to come back out white again. You know that's not a miracle. But if it was a black Moses that stuck his hand inside that cloak and it came back out white, then that would be a miracle. So, you know, we are dealing with a conspiracy of silence, a conspiracy of silence today. the way they don't want you to know. Because if you continue to keep thinking that these people are the original people, when in fact the Bible prophecies and all the prophecies say that these people are the original people, then you're going to continue to keep blessing the seed of Satan, and you're going to continue to keep cursing the ones who is the seed of God. They already got enough problems themselves by rejecting the laws and statutes and commandments. They've already unbought enough on themselves by being scattered in every nation upon the face of planet Earth because of their disobedience. I often say, if you ever want to see the most rebellious people in the world, follow a Hebrew Israelite. They'll definitely show you how to be rebellious. There's nobody more rebellious than them, because they're the only ones that the Most High Yah can speak to, give his covenant to, and then they can all say they agree, and then go right from his presence and do something else. It's a literal saying. It's a literal saying. So the way things that are presented today is not the way that it really truly is. You have to have a working knowledge of history to know, and it is very important to know history. And the reason why it's important for you to know history, because if you don't know history, you will repeat the same mistakes of the past. As a matter of fact, you repeated a lot of mistakes that your own ancestors have done in the past many times over. You are a direct reflection of your environment. You are a direct reflection of your community. You are a direct reflection of the people who actually fed you, nurtured you, and brought you up, as well as your peers. That's what you're a reflection of. And so you have to change the paradigm. You have to change the way people have done with you. You have to gain your own independence, especially spiritual independence, by submitting to the creator of the universe. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be like Jesus and you're going to be a perfect man or woman, but you're going to be perfect in the state that you are while you're going on to perfection, if that made any sense. While you're going on to perfection, we're only perfect in him, because he's the only one that has ever been the spotless Lamb of God. Let me go back in history. So, back in history, over in the time of Moses, you know, they were Israelites. There were no Christians back then. There were no Muslims back then. There were no Buddhists and no Hindus back then. As a matter of fact, everybody was identified by nations. Canaanite, Hittite, Moabite, Jebusite, Amorite, Hivite, you can keep on and on over again. And then as time goes, people end up, you know, being identified by nations. Well, fast forward up today, they identify people, okay, you may have a nationality, Canadian, American, or whatever, but they mostly identify you now by the color of your skin. Back then, they didn't identify people by the color of your skin. They identify you by what nation you are, so it makes no difference what color you may have possessed or not. They dealt with you by nationality. So the Israelites, being as rebellious as they were, they turned around and they went off into the Assyrian captivity. Over 200,000 Israelites went into Syrian captivity simply because they rebelled against Yah. When you think about all these captivities, these people over here say, just like the Bible says over in John the 8th chapter, when these Jews say, we've never been in the bondage to any man. Now, to say that you've never been in the bondage to any man, that means you've never been in captivity, you've never been in slavery whatsoever at all. So how can those people be the people of the book then? They can't be the people of the book. See, it profits the nations to keep the chosen seed of Israel cursed. Because as long as they are cursed, the rest of the world is going to be cursed. I told our people a long time ago, it makes no difference whether you're black or white, but this beast system and this beast, what do you call it? I'll just say system that is rising up, it makes no difference. They're not discriminating on what color you are. They are dealing with rich and poor. They're dealing with what they call their own particular perverted bloodline. And you and I, they keep us divided by continuing to keep fighting over the white person or the black man or the red man or the yellow man. And they know exactly what you're doing. They sit back and look at us like a bunch of porch monkeys and say, look at these stupid ignorant people. Because they don't have any sense to know exactly what's going on. Sad part about it is there's more of us than there is of them, and we still can't get it. You know why? Because we went to their schools. They taught us how to process thought. That's why we can't get anything. So we've been dumped down to an unprecedented level. So after the Assyrian captivity, we're still in Syrian captivity. What's going to happen? Well, there's a lot of miscegenation going to go on. There's going to be intermingling. Because a lot of times they will kill a lot of Hebrew men, and then those nations will come in and intermingle with the Hebrew women, and then they will produce seed. And then they would, in essence, be Assyrians. So what after that? Well, we rebelled again. We still didn't get to learn our lesson, so we turned around and went into the Babylonian captivity. 14,500 went into the Babylonian captivity. And then from there, we didn't learn our lesson again either. So we went into the Medes and Persians captivity. See, we are rebellious people by nature. And you never hear these stories that be presented as fairy tales if you go to church on Sunday, because there'll never be a reality of what's going on. And all this is important. Is all this is important to where you are today to know, because you need to know exactly who you are. And then we turn around after we had the meeting in Persian captivity, we went into the Greek and Roman captivity. Now, you know what's amazing? What's amazing is, one day I was reading the King James Version of the Bible. I also had a facsimile copy of the 1611 King James Version of the Bible. And I looked in there and I seen a book that said Apocryphal. I said, the book said Apocryphal. And I go there, wait a minute, what's going on here? Apocryphal. I said, I wonder why this translation don't have those books, which is called Apocryphal, which means hidden. I wonder why they're not in there. So I decided to go and read it. And I go, oh, now I know the reason why they're not in there. Because from Malachi into the Old Testament, from Matthew, the beginning of the New Testament, the Apocrypha bridges the gap of history, which many of us, which if we read that book, we would actually see the same influence. Look at the architect of the land. No matter where you go over here in this side of the world, North America, South America, look at the architect of the land. You will see that it's all Greek in nature. Every bit of it is. It's all Greek in nature. So while they got us believing that we're Americans, we're Canadians, we're all this and we're all that, we need to really truly find out who we are, because remember, the God of this Bible, the God of the Hebrew people, he's only the God of one people, and that's all he said from the beginning. As a matter of fact, he said that those people were a special people above all people on the face of planet Earth. And you'll read that in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter. And he told us that in Deuteronomy 30, that if we would, no matter where we be scattered, we would come to the knowledge of who he is, repent for our sins, iniquities, and transgressions, and he would turn our captivity. That's why in the last days and hour that we're living in now, that we're hearing the voice, come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people, which means, and of course you hear me say, get out of the city! You know what I mean? Get out of there! You know what all these instructions are. This is a voice crying what you need to be doing in order to come out of her. It's one thing to tell people to come out of her, but you need to give them the steps they need in order to come out. Because anybody can run out, step out, and jump out and stuff, but how do you actually implement this coming out, since they have made sure they've done a good job in keeping a foot on the back of our necks by death. So anyway, going back to the Bible here for a second, I'll get off sometimes, you know what I mean, because I just get fired up. So we got the Malachi, and we have Matthew, and then we have these books called the Apocrypha. They bridges the gap between the Medes and Persian captivity, because by the time we get to Matthew, we notice that it's only talking about the Romans. You got the Jews and the Romans that's in Jerusalem and stuff, but we never hear anything about these Greeks. Well, if you get that book called the Apocrypha, it'll bridge the gap between the Persians and the Romans, and you'll see the Greek captivity, because remember, the Romans took over after the Greeks did. And then you'll see the reason why we've been all duped in the sea and love eating the thing that the Bible calls an abomination, which Christianity, which is a religion that came some 300 or 400 years after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, has become the biggest religion on the face of planet Earth. And it's an offshoot and off branch of the Roman Catholic Church. So Christianity is nothing but Catholicism, and Catholicism is nothing more than Christianity, and every bit of it has to do with idolatry. But all we were doing was following our parents. And we didn't understand that the more we did this, the more separation, the greater divide it was between a relationship, a pure relationship between us and the Creator. There are many people that actually do not believe that a Creator exists. Well, you know, I think I'm in pretty good standing then, because if you don't believe that a Creator exists, and you've done nothing all your life to make sure that you turn from sin, iniquity, and transgression, and stop practicing living in it, and serving Him your days, you continue on being selfish, and you have your little old way, and then when the breath go out of your body, if there's no Creator, fine, you done well. You done good. You have nothing to worry about. If I live my life serving who I believe to be the Creator of the universe, following His law, statutes, and commandments, and then when the breath go out of my body, there's no Creator, fine. I've done good. Nothing lost. From either way, either side of your perspective. But however, if there is a Creator, and there is, and the breath go out of both of our bodies, you're in trouble, and I'm not. And you're in big time trouble, because there is no second chances. Once the breath go out, this is one time and one time only. So when Jesus was up on the scene, you notice the people He was fighting more than anybody? It wasn't the Romans. He was fighting the Jews. He was fighting the Jews. And I'm not going to go into great detail about who the Jews were and everything right now because I don't want to bring too much confusion. I'll keep it kind of simple. But he was fighting the Jews. And the Jews got mad over in John, the 8th chapter, because they said, you're not even 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham? And he said, before Abraham was, I am. And of course, they picked up stones and wanted to stone him and kill him. Now, do you know the whole purpose, the sole reason why that the religious order of the day had conflict with Jesus? Not because he went out doing good, healing all that were oppressed of the devil, because y'all was with him. It's because he was taking away their place. He was taking away, he was stealing the hearts and the minds. Well, really wasn't stealing, but he was just taking the hearts and the minds of the people from the religious order of today. So what is the end time spirit of the Messiah doing again? Taking his children away from the hearts of all these religious institutions that's done hijacking. So you can get right back to him and him alone. That was the reason why they wanted to kill him, because the Pharisees said, if we don't do something about this man, he's going to take away our place and the temple. That's what they were all about. And they were all about the money. They're all about the power. They're all about the control. That's the same thing that's going on today. And so when they was asking Jesus over and over again, what do you do about certain things when it comes to government? So well, if it's Caesar's, give it to Caesar. But the things that belong to y'all, give it to y'all. Most people in the Southern movement would disagree. They would say that Caesar are the people, which I highly disagree with. I believe that Caesar is what the Bible defines what Caesar is, which is the particular establishment and the order of the day. Now, there are things that we do and we need to do to obey, the particular government of the world. But I'll give you one of the false doctrines that we've all been deceived by the religion of Christianity, in which they use Romans 13. When it says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, where there be no powers but of Yah. And everybody thinks that the higher power is the government that is established today. They think that God established that. But this book is a book written to God's people. It's not written to the governments of this world. Proper order and perspective. All right, follow me? This book is guidelines. There are rules. There are instructions for you in life, not to the government of this world. They are written so you can learn how to govern yourself. So that when you read that, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, but there be no powers except that which is ordained of Yah. He's talking about the powers that he made himself. Apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers that he ordained himself. And in that particular instance in chapter, you'll see that those powers just happen to be the Greek word diakonos, which means deacon, which means minister. So we have the 501c3 churches and all these religious institutions that are under the government and control of the Roman Catholic Church, who have influenced people that the police is your friend and the government is your friend, while they got their back or their foot on the back of your neck the whole time. And as long as they have trained these people, notice they have to go to their institutions in order to learn how to talk like this. So as long as they continue to keep twisting and warping and distorting perspectives like this, you're going to stay in a state of confusion and not know which way is up or which way is down. So now we have all been what the Bible calls in Acts the 6th chapter, the first verse. You have to look behind the word. We have all been Hellenized. We have been imitating Greek customs and mannerisms. While when we come to the knowledge of the truth that we are Hebrews, we are Israelites. In the Bible, you see the word Christian mentioned 3 times. 2 times in a singular form, once in a plural form. Christians. The word Christian is come from the word, everybody assumes that it means a follower of Christ. That's what they assume it means because that's what they tell you. That's what it means. But it comes from Christos, and you can say it's a follower of Christ, but the Romans had a total different understanding of that word Christian. When they called you a Christian, it was a negative and derogatory slang that they used, because the Romans were the ones that were in control. And so we've embraced a terminology that Jesus wasn't familiar with, or any of the apostles. Where Peter said, if any man suffer as a Christian, why would a Hebrew who's been trained by the Messiah himself to go and speak to his people? Because Peter went to the Jews, Paul went to the Gentiles, which people don't understand that either, which that's another time. All right, follow me? But he went to people. Why would he be a Hebrew and then turn around and go to the Christians? Did not Jesus come to his own, but his own received him not? He came to his own people. He came to save his people. He has to save his people in order to get his people right so that they can go out and minister to the nations. But you know what we've had? We've had other nations who have been influenced by other religions teaching us what this book says. And that's why the whole world is jacked up in satanic paganism. Now, people can choose to be atheists, which I wouldn't advise you to be that, or agnostic. I wouldn't advise you to be that, because while you believe in that there's no God, or you come from a ball or whatever you want to call it, a Big Bang Theory or whatever, there are people who mean business in this world that are the powers that be that are actually worshiping and serving the Hasatan of Satan. And they are freely admitting it. And now, it used to be a time where they were covering up everything. Now everything is all out in the open. They're not hiding nothing no more. It used to be a time that the Masons used to be secret. They're all out in the open now. It used to be a time that a perversion and all this stuff was stuff that you were kind of ashamed to do out in the open. It's floating out all over the place now. Y'all need this? So this religion that's called Christianity has been the most perverse thing that has ever hit the face of planet Earth. Of course, it's a design. It was meant to. It was meant to make you think that you're serving the Messiah while you're actually serving Cesare Borgia, who posed as Christ. Now, what is the difference between Israelites and Christians? Well, the Bible only talks about his Moedim, or his holy feast days. And if you're going to worship him, you have to worship him in spirit and truth. It talks about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Passover, the Feast of First Fruits. It talks about Pentecost. It talks about Day of Atonement, Feast of Trumpets, and the Feast of Tabernacles. That's what it talks about in the Bible. There is no institution. There's no instructions. There are no rules, and there are no guidelines to teach us and to show us how to celebrate Christmas in this Bible. And I read the King James Version of the Bible. Neither is there any rules, instructions, or guidelines to teach us how to celebrate Easter or Sunday. But yet and still, from one end of this part of this world over here, all the way down to the other, is totally inundated with it, and somehow, some way, they try to make it fit and justify it in this book, and yet and still, you can't do it. Now you tell me, are those people that's functioning like it, are they educated people, or are they trained people? You've been trained very well too, and you function very good. All of us did. But when we come to the knowledge of the truth, we start to find out there's something going on in this book. There's something going on in this world today. And it ain't what they've been showing us and selling us and telling us. So it profits the nations, the ones that are ruling, to keep you dumb, stupid, ignorant, docile, apathetic. Because as long as they can do that, they'll continue to keep ruling over you. And they'll continue having power over you. And they will continue to keep influencing you. And they'll know that they'll always be the head and you'll always be the ass. Most people, let me dress it up, they will say tail. All right? So the idea is for you to understand who the Yah, the Elohim of that book is, and then who you need to be coming to, because he only came to the Hebrews. And if you're going to get to what we call glory, you're going to have to be a Hebrew, you're going to be an Israelite. You're going to have to return from your sins, iniquities, and transgressions. Israel's problem is that the same thing we do today. Israel never denied that he wasn't the creator. Israel has just done the same behavior that we've all done. We just said that he's the creator, but then we coexisted him with other gods. We worship other gods. Well, I don't see it that way. That's no different. Because whatever you do, whether you understand it like it or not, shows who you serve. So if you go put up a Christmas tree, contrary to Jeremiah 10 chapter in here, when he tells you to learn out the ways of the heathen, and you go do it anyway, and that chapter defines the Christmas tree just as clear as day. And that was written thousands of years ago. And you should be more intelligent enough to know that a rabbit can't lay eggs. You don't know that a rabbit can't lay eggs? A rabbit can't lay eggs. But yet we dress little children up and have them chasing eggs and have no idea that it all has to do with fertility rights. It all has to do with the goddess Astarte or Ishtar. But we Christians, no, you can be a Christian. I don't have any problem with it. Go be the best one you can. And that's why the Christianity was raised up, because when Constantine, the first pope, came into play, when he was political, he was incorporating what they called Christianity. It wasn't Christianity. He was actually incorporating the principles of this book with pagans and heathenism and customs, and he merged them together. And that's how the religion of Christianity came about. And remember, what is it on the first commandments he said over in Exodus 20? I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. And what have we been doing all our life? Been having more other gods before him. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, 70, 80 years old. Some people even die and go to their grave believing this mess. Matthew 23 verse 9 clearly tells you to call no man on this earth your father, for there's one that's your father which is in heaven. And they call the Pope the Holy Father. In direct opposition and contrary to what this book says right here. And somehow, some way, that they think that this creator is going to be lenient to them serving other gods and going to let him into this kingdom. No, we can't do that. Because if he lets you into his kingdom, you're going to pervert everything the way you did down here on earth. You're going to be justifying satanic, demonic, demon worship and everything else, and he's not going to have that. Because no thing is going to enter into his kingdom that offends. Now, while today people are choosing to ignore the creator of the universe, Almighty Yahweh himself, and they're picking and choosing this with the conscience and the mind. They're picking and choosing to ignore him. The people of this earth today who are in the know and understand, they mean business. They're not ignoring him. They're not ignoring him at all, because Satan has promised them something. Satan has promised these people something in order for them to commit the genocide and the atrocities that they're committing on the people of this earth today, and all the killing, the raping, the murdering, and the pillaging. Because remember, the nature of the devil is he comes not but to steal, kill, and destroy. So Americans and Canadians, and up here, I'm sorry to talk about your country, but I talk about mine even worse. But these people, they don't know if their ass pointing toward the ground or not. True. They really, truly don't. These people are really, they're bad off up here. Yeah. This has got to be the dumbest, the stupidest, the dumbest, the docile, the most dormant and demoralized people I have ever ran across in all my travels in the world. I told Carol, I said, look, we're just coming to Europe again. Yes, but at least Europe, when they're corrupt, they're just flat out corrupt right in the open. But Canadians do it under the spear of some type of guise where they think they're righteous. Sorry, but it's the truth. And the truth will set you free. But they've done a good job on you. Just like America is doing a good job on these people. So while these people are choosing to play church, play religion, and think that this thing is some play thing, and nobody, we can pick at you. I just want to do what I want to do. Don't interfere with me. Let me lead my little life. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? Don't you bother me. I don't bother you and stuff. Whether you like it or not, they're bothering you. And the main reason why all of us are destroyed is because we reject knowledge. And I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. When we reject knowledge, there's many, many ways of rejecting knowledge. You can reject knowledge, you can hear it and choose to close up your ears and act like ain't nothing ever happened, which some will do. Or you can just flat out say, hey, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to keep myself from that because it's going to interfere with what I want to do in life. You're going to be destroyed. And that's what they're working on, your destruction right now. And because the Hosea 4:6 says that God's people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge because they reject knowledge. And since you reject knowledge, you're not going to be any priest to him. Why? Because you have forgotten the law of Yahweh Elohim. What does Christianity teach you? You're not under that law. You don't have to obey that law. We're under grace. Nobody believes that more than me. I know we're under grace. But yet, what kind of God would he be without rules and regulations and guidelines? And then here comes this religion telling you you're not under that law. Now, the Bible talks about workers of iniquity. A worker of iniquity is somebody who works lawlessness, who practices lawlessness, who lives in lawlessness. All these have spiritual effects upon you, whether you understand it, like it or not. The majority of people in here have probably never cast out a devil before in life, and if you ever seen a devil cast out, you probably run out that door. But we do it all the time. It's second nature to us. It just happens all the time. Now, if that Bible wasn't true, that wouldn't happen to you, and they're right. But you can go to these sorry churches out here I don't care what day they got it open, and the devils, they got the doors open inviting the devils in. What do you mean inviting the devils in? Well, everybody who lives in sin, practice sin, the devils always feel comfortable when y'all sheep are dirty gray. They feel real good at home. But when you oppose Satan's kingdom, then you're going to do what Jesus told you that you should be doing. And very few people today are opposing his kingdom. Very, very few people today are opposing his kingdom. And make no mistake about it, he's working on every single one of us. So when you transgress a spiritual law, when you transgress your spiritual law, it's going to affect you naturally whether you like it or understand it or not. And it's up to you, being mothers and fathers. You that plan on having children, having a family a little bit later on, which the window is quickly closing for that. Because actually, Jesus said that the day is coming when all the women that gave suck had babies. And they gave suck. And they're going to look at the one that never gave suck. He said, your paps are blessed because they never gave suck. Well, you know why? Because the time is so bad, they wish they never had brought children into this environment, into this world. Now look at us. People having children now, they're afraid if you take them to public school, where they're going to get shot up with snake venom, monkey pus, and buzzer brains. Pretty much.
Yes, sir.
But it's all in the best interest of the children. You know, we're concerned about the children. There's nobody more concerned about the children than the mother and the father. That mama knows best. Now we live in a society. I mean, we're straight up communists to the core. I mean, think about this. I mean, what have they done to us? I mean, we're borrowing money from China, and we call them a communist country. And yet every time we need a handout, we go straight to the ones who we call communists. Is that not amazing? It's remarkable, isn't it? Yeah. The power they come out. So they have done a job on us. It's unbelievable. And it's high time for us to wake up out of sleep. Now, how do you wake up out of sleep? Well, you just start making changes, slow changes. I know that they've done a good job of putting us all in debt. Every single one of us. You know what I mean? They made it easy for us. That sure is a good way for you to go out. You know, the average person go to school today, they go get a loan, right? They go get a loan, and that loan, who knows how much they have to pay back. I know people who owe hundreds of thousands of dollars just for an education. Well, look at our environment today. How are they going to pay it back? There's no jobs. Well, they're going to make you good slaves. That's exactly what they're going to do. Because, you know as well as I do, there's not going to be no year of Jubilee. Is Canada going to give y'all a year of Jubilee? America damn sure ain't giving no years of Jubilees. You understand? See, it's been a setup from the very beginning. You know, you've been fortunate enough to work and be like Sister Winnie and them. You work at a pretty good job and stuff, and then you're able to retire. Hey, you're doing pretty good, but even at that, we live in a time now that the system is subject to snatch. Any retirement, anything you've ever worked for. Henceforth, the reason why you need to learn how to protect yourself. See, down in America, them folks crazy. Them folks are about the gun bunnies. Now, I'm talking about old Jethro, the truth about and everything. You don't know about nothing that's going on in the world. But the one damn thing you know about, you ain't coming on my land taking my stuff. He don't know nothing else, but he knows that. You understand what I mean? He knows nothing else, but he knows that. You know the biggest trouble we have more than anything? Is that they've done a good job at keeping us divided. We don't have time to obey his commandments, to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. Because the truth is, the way things are going, you're going to need each other. I've got people that drive in excess of 4 hours, 8 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. They come to Sabbath service either once a month, twice a month, or 4 times a month. But up here, people ain't got time for it. You don't have time for it. You're not earnestly contending for the faith to build not only a good fellowship, but a mutual assistance group. A mutual assistance group. Can't y'all understand that once you start embracing this truth, see, the whole world is religious. They just don't have the right creator. You do. They're confederate. They're together in this one thing right here. But the saints of the Most High, we're divided. You can't get us together for nothing. We make excuses to do everything we can. You won't believe how sweet and how beautiful fellowship is once you start doing it. Make the sacrifice to it. We got people that drive a couple of hours, and we have a couple of places. Some people actually stay in my home. They actually stay in my home, myself and my wife. The people that come here, when we have meetings, they'll stay in the tents, or if all the places, you usually give the homes and the cottages to people like the mothers with children and stuff like that, and families. But they'll come down and they would never have to leave the land. And we're having a wonderful fellowship there. We're growing together in grace and in knowledge. But you're going to have to make the church up because your family think you're crazy. Your family don't think you lost your mind. And then they begin to pull and tug at your heart. And if you're not strong enough, then you're going to succumb and become weak. And the way you get strength is by fellowshipping with those of like mind, like precious faith. Because if you're expecting for your family to come around one day and the light will come on and say, hey, I respect you, you got it right, I believe everything you do, but they're not going to do a thing that you do. They're not going to believe a word that you say. And it's not going to be your family that you're going to be able to depend on when all this goes down. It's going to be the ones who have been bought by the blood of Christ. As a matter of fact, we'll show you something. Let's go over here to Matthew the 10th chapter for a second. Do you believe the words of Jesus? So if we give you the words of Jesus, you're going to believe them. And then from there, we're going to adjust accordingly then, right? Because if you can Bible it, you can believe it. Is that correct? Matthew 10. And we'll start at verse 33. Brother David, do you want to read? Read loud, okay? So everybody can hear. Matthew 10, starting at verse 33. Listen to the book.
But whosoever shall deny me before men.
So Jesus said, whosoever deny me before men, what is going to be his response?
Him will I also deny before my Father.
So if you deny him before men, he's going to deny you before the Father. Now we need to figure out which one is the greater denial. Read on.
Which is in heaven. Think not that I come to send peace on earth.
Now, let me throw this in here for a second. It don't mean that like a bunch of Americans and a bunch of Canadians when you don't think. So when he says think not, that don't mean you stop thinking. He's telling you, you need to adjust your thinking. Don't you let it enter into your mind that I come to send what?
I came not to send peace, but
so don't you think that he comes to send peace on earth? What is everybody talking right now? What is America doing? We're the biggest terrorists that there is in the whole universe. And we're calling everybody else terrorists. Terrorism has no face. It only has a name, terrorism, and anybody can be a terrorist, including the people. I often said when they passed that Patriot Act, it was an act against the patriots. Because there wasn't nobody else. And America's going around, you know, y'all notice that America's blowing the hell out of all these countries? Taking their resources in their land. What are we doing in Afghanistan? There is something in Afghanistan that America is interested in. It's called a poppy plant. You better believe it. Huh? And we ain't over there for no Osama bin Laden either. If you wouldn't believe that mess. Are you following me? But everything they do, they make war through peace. Daniel spoke about that. The book of Revelations speak about that. When they hollered and screamed, the Messiah said that peace and safety, sudden destruction will come upon them. And the Bible also says that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The earth is. And America is spearheading it 100%, and everybody that allies with it. But Jesus told us, don't you think that he comes to send peace on earth. And every nation is hollering what? Peace. Peace. We want peace. We want peace. We want peace. We want peace even if we got to blow the hell out of it. We're going to get peace. Jesus said, don't you think I come to send peace, but I come to send a what? A sword. And look at the sword he's going to send, which is going to be the first impact whenever you really truly come to the knowledge of truth. You ever notice you had no resistance when you was in Christianity? If you left from Christianity and decided to be a Jehovah's Witness, your family will still receive you. They'll just pat you on your head and say, poor little thing. They'll come around one day. Wouldn't it? Yeah. You may get a little opposition if you chose to be a Muslim. But they were still, oh, okay, they just want to go, they're seeking higher learning. But as soon as you start embracing this book and doing what it says and start keeping the commandments, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're going to find the greatest opposition And look where this sword is going to hit first. Read.
For I have come to set a man at variance against his father.
So the first thing that's going to happen is the man is going to be against his father. Son comes to the knowledge of the truth. He loves his family. What's the first thing you do when you learn something? You go tell your family, the people who you love. And then they look at you and say, get out of my face. What happened? You done went and joined a cult or something? Are you out of your mind? I got people who have been joining our cult and we don't take membership. I got people who say, you know, that they're part of a cult and they're clear up here in Canada and we're in Tennessee. It's just crazy the mindset, the way these people function. So the first thing that's going to happen is going to be an argument between son and father. Look what else he says. This is what Jesus said, read.
And the daughter against her mother.
And a daughter against her mother. You know how heart-wrenching that is? For a daughter to be back-talking and arguing against her mother? But Jesus said that's the type of sword that's coming first. And read on.
And the daughter-in-law against her mother.
Now we can understand daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. We got to embrace that. That one we can receive. Okay? Read on.
And a man's foes shall be they of his own.
But a man's foes are going to be they of his own household. And when we start hitting this thing and start believing this thing, following the instructions, rules, and guidelines of this book, we find out that the reality of Jesus' words has come to pass. That's why Jesus said, that which is born of flesh, it is flesh. That which is born of spirit, it is spirit. And he said, don't you marvel not, but you must be born again. See, I came all the way up into Canada to see my family. My natural family, I cannot drive, I cannot get in a car. I don't care if I was in Tennessee. I cannot get in a car and drive to a natural family member's house on my mother or father's side. Neither can I pick up the phone and dial their number because I don't know it. And it's not by my choice. They made that decision when I chose to start obeying this book. But look what the Father did give me. He gave me houses, lands, brothers, and sisters. You know why? Because we have the same Father, the creator of the universe. That's why I don't mind coming up here spending the whole week with my family. And my family, they come down and spend time with us. Why? Because that which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of spirit is spirit. Think about it. If your family will not obey this book, will not keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, they're not going to inherit the kingdom of Yah. They're not going to glory. So therefore, what you believe to be family is not the same ideal that the Father has. So the ideal is we need to line up with what he says. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
That's what we need to be doing. And wow, hey, y'all know that the music industry is sold out to Satan, don't you? Yes. I don't care if it's country, rock, gospel, you name it, they're all sold out to Satan. Y'all know that the movie industry is sold out to Satan, don't you? You know that Hollywood is sold out to Satan, don't you? You know that the sports industry is sold out to Satan, don't you? Y'all know this. Now, while everybody else is hollering there ain't no God, why they believe Satan is? They have done a good job conditioning us. A very good job conditioning us. So you see, that book, it doesn't say the way that they have trained us to believe. I mean, we're just hitting a few simple things for the sake of the people out there that may be watching this, just to show you. And many of you already know the answer to this. When we went to church, we was taught that the animals went on the ark 2 by 2 of every kind. Isn't that right? But is that the truth? No, it ain't the truth. Why? Because you read it. He took 7 clean males and 7 clean females in Genesis the 7th chapter. He took 2 unclean males and 2 unclean females, and that's how he went up on the ark. The fairy tale sure does look nice, and the picture does too, don't it? Well, Pastor, that ain't no big deal. Yeah, it is. All it takes is just, what did Jesus say, little fox to destroy the vine? All it takes is one little lie. One little lie to throw the whole thing off. And once you believe that lie, down the rabbit hole you go. How deep does it go? Well, it came so deep, look at us now. That's how deep it is today. Now, we're living in a world where if you and I try to go do what they do, they're going to throw us in jail. But they got the guns, and they got the laws, and they have the people who they pay to enforce their wicked laws. See, the Bible teaches that money is silver and gold. And it always has been for 6,000 years. So what do you think money is? As a matter of fact, I'm up here and I went and got some exchange for some money. And I go, man, I told Carol, I said, man, it'd be hard for the people in America to counterfeit this Canadian money. But man, y'all got hieroglyphics, or what you want to call it. Y'all got some stuff down in this thing, boy. I said, they done upgraded monopoly money. Upgraded monopoly money. Look at this stuff right here. Look. This is a Canadian $100 bill. Look at that thing. You can actually, I can see Steve through that thing.
Don't throw it in the dryer.
Isn't that something? And then you look at all those sorry pieces of trash. Look at this little sorry piece of trash right here. And as it got to the point now, you know, I used to be able to, with this, get 200 of these. Now it's going to come to parity. It's almost 1-to-1 now. You know the reason why? Because Ben Shalom Bernanke and the Federal Reserve decided that they're going to, hey, we're going to help ease all American woes. You know how we're going to do that? We're going to keep printing money. So if they didn't have their printing press running, do you realize that we will be experiencing a Great Depression right now? And the only reason why we're not experiencing a Great Depression is because they have a printing press. Y'all hear me? And we're quickly running out of trees. Except you folks in Canada. Y'all folks ain't running out of trees. Y'all got plenty of trees up here. But that's the only reason why things are afloat today. We have over 49 million people in America on food stamps. You can't continue to keep sustaining this economy. Ben Shalom Bernanke has already done told the people that they're going to, in order to, ease, called it quantitative easing. I'm going to reserve what I think about that. All right? But they're printing $85 billion a month just in order to keep the economy afloat. That interest on that debt, that's the only reason why America, you notice our credit rating continue to keep falling. It keeps on falling, and it keeps on falling. Now, about 2 years ago, silver went almost to $50 an ounce. Gold was almost at $2,000 an ounce. And we're in worse debt now than we were then, and the Dowel is up to 15,000, and silver is down. What they're doing, they're manipulating it. Right now, you got the buying opportunity of a lifetime. The buying opportunity of a lifetime. You know why? Because history always repeats itself. Did y'all hear what I said? History always repeats itself, and those who know history are not going to repeat the same mistakes that other people have. So instead of going out here, first you get food, but we're talking about money right now. It'd be good for you to start putting back and buying some gold and silver, because that's becoming very hard. Is it not happening like I told y'all it would? It ain't a fact of the matter, it's not going to be available, just that you ain't going to be able to get it. They're going to make it where you can't get it now. And that's what's happening right now. It's getting to the point you can't get it. Just earlier this year, they dried up the mint and said you can't buy no silver. You can't buy no silver for this period of time right here. And everybody like, what? That's in the Constitution. You think they care about the Constitution? I don't care about the Constitution. People do what they want to do. These folks are gangsters, professional gangsters. That's what they are. But one day that silver coin is actually going to be worth 3 to 5 times the amount of this place of trash, because this ain't worth too much nothing anyway. You know why? Because it's backed up by the good old benevolent word of the United States of America. And you got to ask yourself, how good is that? We've broken every treaty. We've lied to every country. Every person, every diplomat from whatever country has ever befriended us, we have assassinated or killed them. So if you come and shake a president's hand, your country's next to get sacked. You don't believe me? Ask Osama bin Laden. Ask Saddam Hussein. Ask Muammar Gaddafi. All these were dignitaries at the White House. So I'm trying to tell you people out there who listen to folks like me, you keep going over here and shaking hands with Barack Obama and the likes of George W. Bush and all this, your country next. You don't play around with gangsters. Well, I'm saying all this because I'm leading up to a direction for every single one of us. So they are not going to teach you gold and silver. Did you know that we were on a gold standard and a silver standard before they created the Federal Reserve? Did y'all know they used to they created, well, when they made dollars and stuff, there used to be silver certificates that was backed up and redeemable by actual tangible assets. Well, now what they did, when Nixon, he turned around because America is the world reserve currency, they turned around and took us off the gold standard. Why? For the sole purpose that if we get in trouble like we are today, we just print more money. And the more money we print, now, I could be wrong. The first thing I asked Brother Steve when I stepped in the car was, and he's got the lights going all day, he's a devil. Anyway, the first thing I asked Steve when I got in the car, I said, brother, how much is it for a liter of gas up here? He said $1.20. $1.30. I said, Carol said, $1. I said, it's like $5, $6. How much was it? $5.50. A gallon in Canada. Gas. Down there, we're crying over $3 a gallon. We're crying wolf. I mean, diesel's $3.79, and we're hollering and screaming. How much diesel up here for 1 gallon?
It's about the same. It fluctuates about.
Diesel is the same, but gas is not.
$4.60, Steve. $4.60 a gallon for diesel.
For diesel, so diesel is cheaper up here, but diesel is more expensive in America.
Yes, sir.
You know why? Because they move America. Used to be a time that diesel were always cheaper than gas. Not in America, it ain't. Not in America, it ain't. So, look at this. Your prices are going up. All because America is printing money. And anybody that's allied with America, you in serious trouble too, Canada. That's why your prices keep going up. Because y'all tied to the petrol dollar. Every single one of them. And the more money they print, the more your price is going to go up. It ain't going to be the fact of the matter if you're going to be able to go out and buy gas or not. You're just not going to be able to afford it. Now in America, we're suffering depression right now because people can't even afford to put gas in the gas tank to even get to work. Families who they couldn't stand before, now all of a sudden they learn the spirit of toleration. Now they learn how to tolerate each other. They used to make fun of the Mexicans stacking up in the house, 10, 15, 20 people at a time. Come to America. Now you got families with 6, 7 cars in the driveway. And you're seeing 10 to 15 people coming out of one family, single family homes. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and got 10 to 15, 20 people living in it. Because it's hard to make ends meet. Because there are no jobs. So while the media, the controlled, propagandized news media painting a picture for y'all how grandiose everything is looking, you got people who done spent 20 years paying on a home. Can you imagine paying $2,000 a month on a home? Have a nice, stable job. You're in your 22nd year of paying mortgage. You only got 8 more years to go. The next thing you know, your job is gone. Then they come and foreclose on your house, and now you're out on the street. Well, now they got 10 cities in California, and Miami, and New York, and all over the place. You know what they do? You know, I told you, you can tell the nature of a country by how it treats its poor. You know what they do? They bring in fire hydrants and stuff, and they blow down their tents and their homes and stuff. And so now since the people say, well, shoot, we can't live in the parks, can't live on the land and stuff, we'll just sleep in the trees. Now they sleep in the trees. We're talking about doctors and lawyers. We're talking about people who have owned businesses and had their own businesses and stuff. This is what's going on in that country, but you're not going to see that by the time you get Fox, CNN, ABC, and all this other stuff. And right now, I mean, up here, they're not worried about y'all because y'all don't have a live like fighting y'all. No one's ever at all. Y'all are more vaccinated and more fluoridated than America.
That's true.
Then we see things flashing over TV every once in a while. If you go on outside sources, you go to these other countries and stuff, and you see these folks rising up in Egypt. You see these folks fighting in Syria. You see all this stuff going on, and first thing you're going, what in the world is going on with these people? Why them folks acting crazy and stuff like that over there? Well, they ain't acting crazy. We the one crazy. They're acting right over there because they're trying to defend themselves from a tyrannical government that's gone mad. Because they can't live free or be free because America's trying to control the whole entire region over there by putting their own puppet masters in place. They got rid of Mubarak and put Morsi in, and now the people trying to figure it out exactly that Morsi wasn't nothing but a puppet for America. Now Egypt is all in uproar again because they done figured out the game that they done lied to. So these people, well, why tear up the countryside? You don't have anything. That's the only way the people are going to get their voice heard. And of course, they call you in this country and in Canada, if you ever resist the government, they call you vigilantes. They call you, racists and insurrectors and all kind of other stuff. I'm not telling you go out there and fight your country. Let other people do that. I'm telling you, I'm here to teach you how to preserve yourself for this upcoming economic collapse. But you got to prepare spiritually, naturally, physically, and you need to prepare for those who ain't got enough sense to prepare. Because one day, they're going to know that you've been preparing, and next thing you know, you're going to have Flip and Wee Wee and Pookie and Ray Ray at your front door, looking for a can of beans. Now, since the majority of y'all white folks, we use proper names, Sally, James, John, Smith. But either way it go, it makes no difference what culture you are. You're going to have these people, all these refugees, coming knocking at your door and expect you to take care of them. And if you ain't got your stuff together, but that's why I keep telling you, get out far enough, you ain't got to worry about them getting there. Because that is the epitome of selfishness. When you've been told the storm that is coming and you refuse to prepare. There's a epitome of selfishness to take food out of somebody else's mouth when you had opportunity to actually store it for yourself. It sounds cold, hard, and cruel, but we're getting ready to hit some serious stuff here. See, we didn't experience the Great Depression. We have an 85-year-old mother down on the community, and she was a young girl at the time. She experienced the Great Depression. She knew exactly what it was, and she talks to us. She has spoken to us many times concerning what happens and how things work. You know, only people that didn't suffer during the Great Depression? The people that were poor. Great Depression hit because of the people who were rich, who so-called had all the money. So what do you need to do? Well, you need to start purchasing silver, purchasing gold. Why? To preserve, to hedge yourself against all this inflation, to protect your purchasing power, because since all the countries of the world is not going to continue to keep accepting these phony money dollars that are printed out of just a word. Over in Zimbabwe, right now, it costs, at one time it was $180. It would cost you $180 for one loaf of bread in Zimbabwe. Did y'all hear what I said? $180. And you know what that? And you know they're not accepting $1 trillion notes either, because Zimbabwe got money, currency printed up $1 trillion note. Everybody in Zimbabwe is a trillionaire, and yet they can't buy nothing. You know the only thing they're accepting? Gold, silver. The people go out and paying 8 hours a day, all over the place, in creeks, digging through mud and everything else, just to come back with enough to buy one loaf of bread. Everybody say, it ain't gonna happen, it ain't never coming. You know, I've been telling people about stuff like this for years and years and years. And people used to call me a cult leader, crackpot, fanatic, kook, and all this other stuff. Mind you, I started preparing for this in the late 90s. I moved on the land in the 90s, 98, 97, 98. I started doing all this, and I looked crazy. The economy's booming, que sera, sera, whatever would be, would be. Everything is looking fine. Why get all in the uproar and stuff? And here I am preparing, and I've been able to prepare a little bit to help prepare other people. And now everything that I've been talking about all these years has come full circle. And the next 10 years is definitely not looking any better. As a matter of fact, it's looking twice as worse. And the only reason why, and I say it again, you cannot see it, and you don't understand it, because they have a printing press, but one day the press is going to stop. And when that press stops, it's going to have chaos. Are you prepared to be able to handle a mob coming down your road? Are you? Are you prepared? Can you protect your family? 99% of Canadians can't protect nothing because they can't own a gun. Are you prepared? Do you know what these people are doing today? Especially these sodomites? That's a tough spirit. They don't care if you're male or female. They're going to sodomize you and take what you got. And they're going to come together in a band. 10, 15 nasty men. And they're going to start going from house to house. That's what they're going to do. I'm not trying to put no fear upon them. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what they're going to do. All because you're not prepared. Because they're going to go to the path of least resistance. That's exactly what they're going to do. And they don't care if you're a woman or a man or a child. They're going to take what they want and they're going to rule it, and then necessarily kill you. What in the world? Do you know there's not enough police up here in Canada to police all these people in this country? What in the world are these people going to do with a world without rule of law? Have you ever thought about that? You can see the decline is on. Is this world better off now than it was 20 years ago? Or is it worse off? You answer the question. Huh? And the world is going to continue to keep waxing worse and worse, and it's going to keep on getting worse and worse and worse. You can't even, it's not even safe to send your children to public school now. They may come back transvestite, thinking that that's what they were born to be. We're in a mess today, a serious mess. And it's all because Satan is making the last pull. The beast is. The beast of Revelation. He's got his system entrenched, in play, and he's making his last ditch effort. Everything that's going on in the world is all written right there in that book. It's happening right before our very eyes for those who got the eyes to see and to be able to discern. In the first place, is spiritual preparation with a right relationship with the Father. And the second thing is start preserving yourself and those who you love. You definitely need to be doing it. So you buy the gold and the silver. People say, well, what are we going to do if the world is going crazy like that and stuff? You know how much respect money buys you? Even in the world with these people out here who ain't got no sense. If they know you got it, they can become your servants. I remember in the 40s and stuff, you could buy a whole city block for, I think, 3 or 4 pieces of silver during the Great Depression. Well, they've taken it from you, so you never known it's money, because since you never know that gold and silver is money, and it's just something that you just hold on to, it's nice and shiny and stuff, you're not going to function after what it really truly is. You're not going to do it whatsoever at all. So you need to invest in gold and silver. Now, that's what I do. You don't have to do it. That's my advice to you. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert in this, but I found out a long time ago I don't trust the experts. The experts have been wrong every single time they open their mouth. I trust what I know to be true, which has been money ever since the beginning that we know to be time, for 6,000 years. Gold and silver. That's what you need to do. Now, you also need to preserve and protect yourself because, hey, I mean, do you have a year's supply of food stacked up, stored up? Because have you ever thought about what's going to happen if these trucks stop running to these stores? It sure is. Now listen what the book of Revelation says. And he calls them all, both great and small, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Y'all hear that? Notice, he calls them all. First thing mama gonna do, you got children? First thing mama gonna do, children, mama, I'm hungry. Well, honey, we ain't got nothing. Mama, I'm hungry. That pulls and tugs. Really, really hard. Mom's already got the thought in her head that all she has to do is go down to the grocery store, go through that line, and receive that mark, and she can get all the food she wants. But she does it at the expense of her soul. So while everybody else believing and playing games that there ain't no God and stuff, the world's not functioning like that. And they're slowly but truly implementing right now through fear and coercion. Every time you turn around, we're regulated. They're putting more regulations, and they're making more regulations, and they're making more regulations. Every time you turn around, they have some type of restrictions. Well, you can't do this now, you can't do that now. See, in America, the way that the government was designed is that the people ran the government, and the government is supposed to fear the people. But there's a change going on. The people are becoming more fearful of the government. And the corporations are in bed with the government. And they get a bunch of political favors from these people who are politicians, which is the purest definition of fascism. We've become a very fascist country now. So Mussolini and Stalin and Mao and all them, they look like old St. Nick. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer compared to the way these books are doing today. But they're going to make a cause for you to receive a mark. And when those children belly start aching, and mom gets that pressure, gets sick and tired of hearing all that belly aching and stuff, and she's praying to God. Lord, help me! God, help me! Help me, God! Help me, God! And then all of a sudden, when you ain't getting no answer, because you've already been told what to do. See, a wise man, he foresees the evil day that is coming, and he prepares his house. But you know what a foolish person does? Pass right on by. That's what the foolish people do. So when I tell people to get out of the cities, I'm telling people to get out of the cities for a reason, to preserve yourself. I mean, it's easy living in the cities. It's nice living in the cities. It's convenient. You don't have to drive as far. You don't have to pay as much for gas. You got everything right there. That's what the flesh is. Yeah. Learn how to grow a garden. You need to learn how to grow a garden. Why you need to learn how to grow a garden? Because you need to know how to plant a bean. You need to get some heirloom seeds. If you know what an heirloom seed is, you need to get an heirloom seed. Because, again, we're thinking that this world is going to continue to keep going on as we have always known it. Well, that's called normalcy bias. It ain't never happened to us. We've never experienced, so therefore it can never happen to us. Wake up out of sleep. Because we all just admitted that this world is worse off than what it was 20 years ago. Can you imagine what the next 20 years is going to look like? I mean, I've seen the move of homosexuality. It's just unbelievable. You know what Jesus said about that? Do you know that y'all destroyed a whole city for that vile crime, that vile sin? And today it's sanctioned. They got more rights than people do. Things are shifting, things are changing. So you get out of the city for the reason to preserve yourself and your family. Because make it harder for the mob to come out there. Because they're going to start here. There's going to be a bunch of refugees and everything. And ain't going to be the police is not designed to protect you. And they'll tell you they're clearly not designed to protect you. You need to start learning how to preserve and protect yourself. You need to start thinking tactical. You need to start, if you get an opportunity, a chance, don't go and pay these exorbitant amounts of fees that people do. Down in America, they'll hold what they call a survival class on the weekend. An 8-hour class, and they'll charge people $200. Pastor Joe Fox, who's with us in the ministry, is a retired Special Forces Major, 20 years at Green Beret in the United States military. Myself, I'm a 10-year United States Army paratrooper, got in the 82nd Airborne Division, Joint Rating Training Center, as well as other people who come there with other special skills identifiers. We're kind of slowly walking people up because we know we're dealing with civilians. We're not dealing with soldiers. We're dealing with civilians. And they have a different mindset than soldiers do. And so we teach people things of this nature, how to preserve yourself, how to protect yourself, women how to protect yourself in case somebody tries to assault you or attack you. I said up here, I don't have a gun, so I feel pretty naked and stuff, but I do have enough confidence in my skills that I'll be able to preserve and to protect my wife and I, if you understand what I mean, and others that are around me if necessary. You know what I mean? You need to know that it only takes 13 pounds of pressure to kill a man or a woman. That's it. Just 13 pounds of pressure. You can fit in some of your purse will be more than that. 13 pounds, isn't it? You need to know that. But, killing is not bad when it's done right. The Bible is not against you protecting yourself against somebody who's meant to do you harm. Christianity has taught you that. They've trained you very well. Do you want to kill somebody? No, you don't want to kill nobody. But if it came down to it, that somebody is attacking your wife and your family, would you kill them? Yes. Yeah, you ain't going to be hollering for Jesus, are you? Because Jesus ain't coming. He got a time appointed when he's coming. He's already going to give you in the rules, the instructions and guidelines, how you need to behave and how you need to protect yourself. And when you choose to go contrary to that, you deserve exactly what you get. Does that make any sense?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
So we have a lot that we need to be thinking about. And I keep rehashing the same message over again and again and again and again. I want to keep pounding in your head. And we're going to continue. Next year is going to be worse than this year. It's going to be a whole lot worse. The time is coming that silver and gold is going to make its turn. It's going to be going up. And you're going to wish you had got in. And you've been able to preserve yourself. The silver and gold, I got to have food and raiment. I'm content. Don't have no need of nothing. I've got a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold. I'm going to spend every bit of it on the saints of the Most High. Why? I don't need nothing. I'm content. I have food. I have raiment. I'm content. See, instead of me trying to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with everybody else, I think we got the biggest, latest, greatest Dodge truck, Chevy, or Tahoe, or whatever, and all this other stuff. I'm just concerned about just living in existence and living in peace. A quiet and peaceable life. Preserving myself. But you know what I've done with all this? I position myself so I don't have to depend on the system if there's a collapse. And we should live like this every single day, even if there wasn't a collapse. We should live like this. You shouldn't live your life in an entitlement dependent mentality. You should make moves to do what you can to preserve and to protect yourself. That's what you should do. If you don't have a gun, I don't care what the law says, you get one anyway and by any means necessary. You get you a gun. If the government got one, you get one. Well, they say, I don't give a damn what they say. They say a lot of things. I don't care what they say. I just got finished showing them a picture of just what was in my bedroom within arm's length of me. Y'all seen the picture right on the cell phone? No, am I telling the truth, honey? My wife going, man, my purse is really nice. You know why? Because she don't have an XP45 in it right now. Who'd ever look at my wife and think that she'd pull out one on you if you try to do something? Huh? But I promise you would blow not on your head, everything else. You got up there and reload and do it again. Because you've been trained by me. All right, to not be long and stuff, I'll tell you what we do. If y'all got any questions about anything, it can be something off top that I didn't discuss right now. If I have an answer, I'll try to answer best I can. If I don't, then I won't. That makes sense? All right, anybody got a question about anything? Okay, nobody has a question about that. All right, about spiritual warfare and deliverance. Anybody have any questions on that? And understanding of it?
I have a question.
Sure.
It concerns the Bible and sort of its unknown author. How is someone to know sort of that it's not written, for instance, by, say, like, people involved in mysticism?
In mysticism.
It's very, like, very numerology, very, like, so, like you said, they got their hands in everything, right? And they obviously the mysteries are coming out, as they put it, right? And so it's this like, sort of like, what? How are we to know that it's not written by them as well?
Okay, that's easy to answer, believe it or not. It may sound like a difficult question to a lot of people, but it's actually easy for me to answer. The people who first received that book, received the laws, the instructions, the rules, the guidelines, the prophets and the apostles who received that, they were all inspired by the Father, every single one of them. And how we know they was inspired, how they were inspired by the Father, because all the prophecies of that book is coming to pass. It's easy. I'll give you an example here in just a second. All right, but the people who translated that Bible, are you following me, were not inspired by the Father. That's the reason why He's giving us discernment. That's the reason why He told us in Psalms is the honor of kings to search out a man, to search it out. That's why He teaches us to prove all things, test everything, and hold fast to that which is good. Everything, including that book right there, that Bible right there, you can tell it has man's hand on it. It's got, I can go right now off the top of my head about 5-10 scriptures to show you errors that are written down in that book. But that doesn't mean that the one who was the creator of that, and then Moses, who was the custodian who actually wrote it down, was in error. It means the nations who we got that book from has actually done their little hoomba booba 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 on it. And then we have to discern through the Holy Spirit and discern what is right and what is not. So if somebody diligently truly searches, because Jesus said, if you would diligently seek for me and you search for me, but if you do it, you have to do it with all your heart. Then you will be found. You will be found of Him that seek Him. And what people do today is they're not seeking Him like they should in order to get the answers. That make any sense? All right. So there's a bunch of transitory errors just in that book alone. But then we have a bunch of other stuff that we can actually test it by. But then again, here we go again. For instance, I'm a preacher that cast out devils. All right. I've laid hands on the sick, they recovered. I actually raised somebody from the dead. I didn't do it. I don't have the power in me to do it. Is that, y'all hear me? I don't have the power in me to do it. Myself personally. But the Bible says, greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. But if the greater one, Jesus, is inhabiting this body like He said He would, and He would come and dwell with you, He said, the works that I do, you'll do. And greater works than these shall you do, because He goes unto the Father. And so that's also a way that we know that we are the sons of Yah, that's opposed to the children of this world, as opposed to Satan. So the people who first received those scrolls, those that taught, and that Tanakh, they were inspired and under the inspiration of God. Everybody else all after that that translates stuff, there's no lick of inspiration behind them whatsoever at all. But we can trust that book right there and what's written in it when we use self-autonomy and discernment, and we actually know what the prophecies are saying. All right, let me give you an example. All right, let's go to, I'm going to prove you the blessings and curses here for a second. Deuteronomy 28. And I'll show you something. This was written by Moses. All right, listen to this book real quick. Read verse 30, brother David, real loud.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her.
You hear that? You're going to have a wife, but another man going to lie with her. Read on.
Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
You hear that? You're going to build a house, another one, but you're not going to dwell in it. Read.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
You're not going to be the one to eat the fruit of it or gather the grapes thereof to enjoy it. All right? You understand what that is? That's a divine prophecy right there of the transatlantic slave trade or slavery, or what would happen to the Hebrews when they transgressed the law. You got the first part of Deuteronomy, verses 1 through 15, to show blessings. Then you have the rest of them to show the curses that will follow you. Not only that, read verse 33.
The fruit of thy land and all thy
Verse 32, excuse me.
thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Your sons and daughters will be given to another people. This was written by Moses over 5,000 years ago. Read.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
All the day long. Read verse 37.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Now think about this. If these people who call themselves Jews today, do they fit these prophecies thus far? Have they ever been in bondage? Have they ever been in slavery? Have they ever been in captivity? The answer is no. But the blacks, who are called Jews, or the real Yehudas, or the Israelites of the Bible in America, they fit these prophecies of these books. And it gets even more interesting. Watch this. I'm going to go ahead and go on down to read verse 68. Now watch this. We know that Egypt is a house of bondage. Is that correct? Yes. Egypt is bondage. It's synonymous with bondage. Is that right? Watch this. Read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Now notice it says, and the Lord, talking about Yahweh, the creator of the universe, is going to bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, I've been over there on the other side of the wall. You don't need a ship to get from Israel to Egypt, or from Canaan to Egypt, if you're talking about that geographical landmass. Are you following me? But look what it says. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So
there, no man's going to redeem you. That's what the word buy means. So you're going to be bought in Egypt again by ships. You're going to be sold as bondmen and bondwomen by the way wherever he spoke to you. And nobody's going to redeem you. Nobody's going to buy you. There's only one people on the face of planet Earth that fit that prophecy. And those are the blacks who were bought over in the transatlantic slave trade in 1619. That's it. And they are the ones who have been abused, been had atrocities committed against them. And way before then, even in the Apocrypha, over in Ezra, we talk about the American Indians, how they even got over here before it happened. So they have misconstrued and tore up history. But the prophecies is clearly telling us exactly what happened. Now, if you understand that, that means you can also going to understand the captivities and what's going to happen when your heart turns back towards him, because the book tells you everything. Does this make any sense? And it's all there. So what are the people on in the world, the history of the world, that fits them prophecies? Nobody but the blacks that came over on slave ships. Just like it says. Read that verse 68 again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
And I'm over here, I haven't even seen my own land before. Because you can look at me and tell that I'm not native to this land. That's why in America, they make sure they call you African American. That don't make sense. Oh, you get it? But the whites are just Americans.
But they're not native either.
Nah.
They're not native either.
No, they're not native either, but they're just called Americans. But I have a designation. You see what I mean? And there's a lot of study, there's a lot to be desired. And it's more than I can actually go over just in one setting. I mean, I can actually go over the history of the Greeks, I can go over the history of the Romans, I can go over the history of the intermingling, I can even prove to those who are believing and baptized and filled with the Holy Spirit, how you are actually real true Israelites, but you just don't know because you've already been, I mean, the bloodline has been intermingled all over the place. The seed has. But the Most High knows them that are heathens. He knows them that he is. And so he raised me up in this hour because I'm a true Israelite. And I speak differently than all the other people you've ever heard. The reason being because only a true Hebrew Israelite can actually preach and teach this message. I'm the one that's supposed to be the minister to the nations. When I teach other nations, then they're qualified to go teach other people the right way because I don't have an agenda. I don't care if you're blue, purple, green, purple, yellow, brown, black, white, red, it makes no difference to me. But I'm going to tell that truth, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to tell you what the prophecy fit, where they fit, and if they don't fit, then I'm not going to tell it. The world's in the condition it's in because God's people chose not to obey him. That's the reason why we're in the condition it's in. So therefore, Satan has really done ruled, and he'll rule with a rod of iron. And we're at the end of this thing right now. And the beast, we already have the beast system. The beast and the false prophet is soon to appear upon the scene. Don't look for no pre-tribulation rapture because you ain't going nowhere. You might as well just stick around for a long time. I don't care what TBN and Christianity has been told you, you ain't going nowhere. You're going to be right here going through tribulation unless you die. Other than that, you might as well prepare your heart and mind and get ready for a fight because that's exactly what's getting ready to take place. But we have a hope. The angel of the Most High Yah is encamped around about them that fear him. Isn't that something? In Leviticus, he said his angel is encamped around about them that fear him. Isn't that beautiful? Anybody got a question? How do you think? Brother.
Pastor, is there, maybe this, I don't know if this is an easy question to answer, but can you give sort of a brief rundown or overview of the steps that would be involved in deliverance? Like, for example, doing the proper intel to find out what type of spirit you're dealing with and then how to
Sure.
attack.
Whatever you're being harassed, tempted, driven, and tormented by is what you know you need deliverance from. I mean, let me give you an example. I always start here, bitterness, unforgiveness. We've all had people who have hurt us and disappointed us and done us wrong in life. Is that correct? Is that right? But did you know, I mean, how many people love Jesus? But did you know that Jesus said that if you don't forgive one person, I mean, you can leave one person unforgiven and you will still not go into his sin. Did y'all know that? You didn't know that? Yeah. Did you? Matthew 18. Matter of fact, let's just read one verse for the sake of time. 16. No, I'm sorry, 18. Matthew 18, watch this. Start at read verse 34 and 35. Watch this.
And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the torment,
And his Lord was robbed and delivered him unto the tormentors, read.
till he should pay all that was due unto
Till
him.
he should pay all that was due to him. And watch this, read.
So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you,
So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you.
if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses.
So if you don't forgive everyone your brother their trespasses, read the whole story so you get a good understanding. You can't afford to let the breath go out of your body and have unforgiveness and bitterness in your heart against your fellow man. You can't afford it. Did y'all hear me? Nobody, and also nobody on this earth is worth you suffering cancer, arthritis, and any other diseases. Most people don't know that diseases are mostly demonically inspired, besides what we put on ourselves through GMOs and genetic modified food, high fructose corn syrup, and all this other stuff. But we're dealing with spiritual entities here. We're dealing with spiritual weaknesses in high places. You ever heard of this thing before? God's not giving us a spirit of fear. So fear is a put on a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. So heaviness is a spirit. So depression is a spirit. So you can take all the pills you want. All you're going to be doing is soothing your body, but that demon's still going to be there. So what are the steps? The steps are simple as this. When you recognize that you prayed for something and you ask the Father to take something from you, and it ain't going nowhere, you have to check to see if, number one, you met God's conditions through repentance. And then if you're still being harassed, driven, tormented out of men's conditions, and you've done repentance and stuff, so now the next thing you do is seek deliverance. And then you need to go to somebody who knows what they're doing in order to cast out devils. Now, if you believe, you can cast out devils. You just ain't doing it. You know the reason why you ain't doing it? Because you're disobedient. You learned that from Christianity. You ever cast out devils before? You can. You got the power to. Yep, you sure can. Just that easy. You may not like what happened, but you can cast them out. I guarantee you. And if you ever want to know if Satan's kingdom for real or not, let a spirit manifest. Isn't it right, brother? You see them spirits manifesting, you'll know he's real. And you'll know he ain't playing games. And you can only imagine what's controlling these world rulers. Well, after that, you simply go into repentance and stuff, and then you start commanding for the spirit to come out of the person, provided that they met God's conditions. And you do this through your voice. It may not seem like nothing's going to happen. Just keep at it for a few seconds. Something always happens. Sometimes it may not happen, but sometimes people are so full of pride that they just do everything they can to choke down because they're too embarrassed to think that they had demonic spirits. Well, I'll soothe everybody's mind and conscience in here. I've never met a person that didn't have an abundance supply of evil spirits. I didn't say you didn't want them. I said I never met anybody who didn't have them. And I haven't met everybody. But everybody I've met has. So that means everybody here, you got what? Spirits. Yeah, it's real easy. It really, truly easy. You ever been angry with somebody? Hot anger? Seething anger? How about that type of anger that you're so angry that you be down, you won't let them get the last word in? You couldn't stop. They say something, and you say something back. That was a spirit controlling you. Because the spirit, you're supposed to have self-control. You ever had any addiction that you tried over and over again to actually overcome, but you never could? You go out and you stop. You fall back into it again, and you stop. You fall back into it again, and you stop. You say, I'll never do it again, you're right back in it again. You didn't know what the devil, didn't you? Again, it's going to take more than just me talking this a couple of hours here to actually get you to understand fully what's going on. That's why I just got to watch my YouTube videos, which will change over to the ministry, which is on Sabbath. That's the reason why we have live streaming radio broadcast. I would advise y'all that if y'all live within close, y'all need to try to at least plan one Sabbath a month to meet together so y'all can get strengthened, because you're not going to gain any strength from people who don't believe like you do. You're going to gain strength from people who believe like you do, because the Bible says in Hebrews that you ought not to forsake the fellowship of assembling together as the manner of some is. And it's become a mannerism. We're sitting here today proving that you got a few people in Canada that actually really truly believe the Bible. The rest of them, they play in church. They don't believe it. So if they really truly believe it, then they would be living. They would be doing it. And you can tell people don't believe that Jesus is coming today. Look at all the hell going on in the world. If people really truly believe that Jesus is coming, would they be acting the way they're acting? No, they wouldn't. Y'all learn anything?
This proves to me about what says in the Bible, a remnant. Just this right here, this is seven.
Yeah, it's just a remnant.
You know, really, we are.
So the best thing you can do, Mom, is love your children enough to tell them the truth. And then let them pick and choose and make their own decisions from there. But the bottom line is you got to save yourself. No matter what you can do, you cannot save nobody but you. Much as I love my wife, I can't save her. I can't. I have to save myself. Now, the thing about it is that when you make changes, chances are you may be able to save others because they'll see your influence. Are y'all getting this? So don't forsake the fellowship with each other. Brother Steve and Sister Linda, they're some beautiful people. Beautiful Israelites. You get some strength by being over there with the saints. You get to grow. And then not only that, you get to develop what we call a mutual assistance group, where you learn how to trade ideas and you grow something. You can trade it with somebody else. But not only that, in case crap in the fan, the proverbial crap in the fan, you actually know you can go to people, place that you can actually trust. That they ain't gonna try to step over you just to get to what they need to get to because they don't respect you. At least you know that they have integrity in their heart. Why? Because they're governed and ruled by the laws of this book right here. Your family, y'all know, come on, y'all don't y'all know how family is. Your family got to be just like mine. They ain't worth 2 dead flies. Hey man, am I the only one that got a crazy family?
No.
Yeah, you know. But then sure, your brothers and sisters in the Messiah, you're gonna run across difficulties every once in a while, disagreements and stuff. But all that should be not a stumbling block, but should be a stepping stone for us to actually grow together. We get people, they get one disagreement. I'll tell you something. But then your stupid family, you'll tolerate them doing everything. They can steal from you. They can wreck your car. Yeah, they can do you wrong. Yeah, they can. And you'll tolerate them for years. You'll spend your life savings bailing them out of jail. And you'll still give them a place to stay. You stupid. But a saint go do something. I ain't come back here no more. That's a crazy mindset. The saints are the ones going to be in the kingdom. Your family ain't going. Not acting like that, then, right? So you need to know who your family really truly is. You got to get it up here. You really truly got to get it up here. Now you see the reason why my natural family don't want nothing to do with me? I'm glad too. I don't want nothing to do with them. And glad of it too. Once a year we have a thing called Gathering of the Saints. Gathering of the Saints, I'll end on this. We have a thing called Gathering of the Saints. And what we do is we teach people survival skills. We teach them, I'm going to be running the range this year. We teach them self-preservation. We teach them hand-to-hand combat. We teach them medical skills. The sisters, they have classes where they have handgun training. They also have hand-to-hand combat training. And all of that. The cannon class, we also have a butchering class. We have classes on sutures and stuff. Teach you how to read maps. Tell time by the sun, all different types of stuff that may go on, throughout the year. And then we always finish it by having a service. We have a service on the Sabbath, which everybody's rejoicing over. And then at night, we have what we call Saturday Night Live. It ain't what you see on TV. That's where we have about anywhere between 150, 200 people together in the tabernacle. I get behind the pulpit, and I just start calling out devils, and you would believe what takes place. And all I do is sit behind the pulpit and just talk. And say, come out in the name of Jesus. People trying to tell you that the name of Jesus is pagan. There's something wrong with the folks. Because Satan can't cast out Satan. And if the name of Jesus is something wrong with it, then how come these demons are being cast out? Since Satan can't cast out Satan. So there ain't nothing wrong with the name of Jesus, something wrong with their theology. And you got demons too. Yeah, you do. And don't that make you feel better? Now you know what all your problems is. Huh? That was worth coming along. You know what all your problems is. All right. I told show Brother Stephen Winterton that we usually don't do it in public environments like this and stuff because at one time we was casting demons out of somebody in a hotel, in a hotel meeting room and stuff I don't know if them people scared out there. They didn't come down to marvelous because they were scared to come in the room. But you ever read in the Bible, unclean spirits cried out with loud voices and they came out? And you go to a public place like the Hampton Inn and you start casting out devils and 4 or 5 people screaming top of their lungs and carrying on. And them people, they may be concerned about what's going on in there, but they ain't coming to the door. But you know you've been delivered when you're no longer harassed, driven, and tormented. No more by them things that has been controlling you and ruling you all your life. They're gone. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, sir.
And people got problems. Yes, they do. They have problems. Anyway, hope y'all enjoy this little time right here. I hope that you'll spend more time. You'll actually gain more knowledge when you make a concerted effort to watch the ministry. You really watch, you will learn, and you'll go by leaps and bounds. You'll learn more in 3 months than you will in 25 years of church. And then from this point, you need to become a doer of the word and not a hearer only. So we need to start doing. So we need to read our Bible. We need to listen to people who we know that are preaching and teaching the truth. And that ain't everybody. We need to store food. Food more than anything. And when you get finished storing food, then you need to start buying some silver and gold if there's still any left out here. And you need to practice self-preservation with you and your family. You need to learn how to preserve yourself and get more interested and become proactive in it. When you go to the store, buy extra canned goods. Buy extra canned goods. Put it on the bed. You come to my house, even in the guest room, there's cans under the beds, cans in the closet, cans there, cans all over the place. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yes, ma'am.
Pastor, for buying food, is it just the canned goods that we should be buying, or should we be buying any other packaged stuff?
Sure, you can buy stuff like noodles, and then stuff like dry goods. All right, follow me. The reason why I say canned goods, you need to look at the ones that's, we're talking about shelf life right here. That after you get up a nice little stash of stuff that you can start rotating, because the day is coming that these trucks are going to stop. And you learn how to grow a garden. You learn how, and don't go out and do like everybody, a lot of these people do, go out and put 50 different plants in a garden. No, plant 4 or 5 items of stuff that you eat all the time. And it's easy for you to grow. And then experiment with something else later. All right, follow me? Because I'm sure you're not concerned about eating the eggplant from New Zealand. You understand what I mean? You may like the eggplant and stuff, but I mean, are you really interested in the eggplant? How about let's grow a bunch of green beans so we can can them and store them and have them eat? How about that? Or some peas. You understand me? Or some okra. Or, one of the good things to grow, cucumbers. Ooh, boy, you can grow cucumbers. You know, when you start thinking, canning eggs, pickling eggs and stuff like that. Stuff like that is going to be survival food. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you may not know this about the human spirit, but the way your human spirit works is, if you don't have any peaches or something in there that's got some fruit, and after you've been eating either MREs, ready-to-eat meals, or been eating a certain amount of food, rice, or you just had chicken rice, or just rice, all that, you're going to sit down at the table one day and say, I ain't eating that. You're going to be starving like Marvin. And you still going to say, I ain't eating that. Something's going to click inside of your human spirit that you ain't never known before because you've never been there before. I ain't going to eat that right now. You're going to say, oh, I eat that. Oh, yeah. Well, what about 6 months eating the same thing over and over again? One day you're going to sit down and ain't going to eat that. It's going to cause problems. So you need to have something that's going to break up the human spirit. That's why you'll see in the military, when we was out in the field and stuff, they would often include some type of candy or some type of fruit or something inside the meal. Because those things really, their meals, when they really run the constipation, is all it is. Meat is constipated. And me and everybody else too. Anyway, that's what they did. All right, follow me? So, get canned goods. Get dry goods. You can get some ramen noodles, throw away the package. Throw away the little salt package.
Get large coolers and put it in there, put it in your basement, keep it nice and cool.
And
nice.
yeah, you go on my videos and go back in my archives and look and see where I teach you how to model our bag stuff.
I saw that.
Yeah, that and I talk about health, I talk about that, I talk about how to start a fire in the snow. Y'all got plenty of that there. Well, plenty of that. I talk about all those videos are in there. We show you how to butcher deer and all this. I mean, Elder Doug the brother and the sisters of Candy. There's all kinds of stuff on there. I don't know how long YouTube gonna keep me on, because every time I turn around, they flag me. I mean, they put a flag on my account every single time I turn. I get clear, a few days later, bam, I'm flagged for another 6 months. But I'm able to still keep doing videos. It's just I have a lot of limitations on it. And so that means if I want to stay up on YouTube for y'all's sake, that means I have to back off on beating up on the faggots and the Jews and the Christians. Even though I don't ever stop. You know what I mean? I just don't ever stop. But you know, I have to carefully word my words until a flag get off, then it's right again, then just get a flag again. I keep flags on the account. It's a marvel that I'm still up.
With YouTube and all being out there, you can't be ignorant anymore. All the information's out there.
It's out there. I'll give you Viking Preparedness. You're going to write that down. Pastor Joe Fox, you need to go check out his channel. Viking Preparedness. Course Hours, Southern Prepper 1. Southern Prepper 1, go check him out. He's a good one. Engineer 775. He's another good one to go check out. We're talking about people that are intelligent and who know how to do things. It's going to, it's going to benefit you. So you're going to start trying. So I tell you to get out of the city, because the city is the last environment that you want to be in when you have a world without rule of law. You don't want to be caught dead in the city. You ain't never seen how these people act in cities. Get out of that thing. And get out of that. Work at getting out of that. I mean, the Bible says come out of her. It doesn't say jump out. It says come out. It may take you a little bit of time, but keep making moves to get out so you can be free. Because once you get out, I promise you, I grew up in the city. My wife grew up in the city. A lot of people I know grew up in the city. But you know what? We ain't trying to get back there. See, most people don't know that myself and Sister Carol, between 98 up until 2007, 8, something like that, we moved out of, because we was making a bit of money, but we moved out of the city to go live in a trailer. They didn't have a back on it, pretty much back with plastic, and we lived in a trailer with no running water. We peed in buckets. And we didn't have indoor plumbing in that trailer for 9 years. So don't tell me it can't be done. It's just that your flesh don't want to be inconvenient. That's the problem. It can be done. And I can tell you that, anybody know the quickest way to get out of the city? Who will know the quickest way to get out of the city? The easiest way. Yeah, watch it. It really is.
Well, we did.
Yep.
I mean, are you concerned about credit? Concerned about function? I mean, I've got 800 and something credit right now. I can care less about that stupid thing because I don't know how to use it. For what? What's it going to benefit me for? I live out of the country. You understand me? Most people are, a lot of people willing to make a sacrifice. Don't tell me people can't do it, because I did it with 2 children. And my wife homeschooled. It's all about if you want to make a sacrifice or not. And peeing in a bucket is not that bad. Get your body, your butt don't know, your behind don't know the difference. You get you one of them nice little toilet stools. You get you build you a nice little box, cut a hole in it, put that toilet seat on there, put that bucket down there. It wouldn't know if you were sitting on a conventional toilet or not. It's getting past this. Nah, I can't do this, and I can't do that. But guess what? You're going to get to the place where your ability to resist is going to be taken away from you. It's not going to be where you can't do it. You are going to do it. Because it's the only way you guys are supposed to survive. Is it really going to be that bad, Pastor? Yes. I ain't exaggerating it either. And you remember that I came up here and told you to start making moves. I'm not concerned about nobody outside of this building but the people that are in here.
It's interesting how little that you actually need. Like, we were in a small area. We got out of the city. We got right out there. You know, I was a non-practicing Catholic, Roman Catholic. I had an atheist wife. We were constantly seeking for the truth. We had the thirst for the truth. And it brought us to the faith. We were looking through our sovereignty of being free. And I didn't find it until I actually found out that what being free was actually in that book. And it got us close, and it got my wife and I together. She came in, we got together. We were always close, but we were seeking the truth, constantly seeking the truth. And the truth just kept on getting us to where we are right now. And we thank you for putting those videos up. Because that's how it caught us. We're truthers seeking the constant truth. So it brought us to the sovereignty of the Most High. So I just want to get that out there.
Well, hallelujah. Y'all can do it. I'm going to make changes though. All right? Well, if there's nothing else, I appreciate y'all coming. And listening to me run my mouth and more y'all have to help. Appreciate it. Y'all, again, you know, a lot of stuff y'all heard me say, pretty much all of it say, I've said it until I'm blue in the face. And it's going to be, I'm just like that Bible. You read it, it's going to still be there. Because you can't improve on something that you already know to be the truth. You have to just do it. You'll see it. If you start living that Bible and doing it, you start seeing the blessings in your life. Even more so. I heard you came in, you said you crazy enough to get out of the city, moving the country.
Yeah, I call it like crazy because most people in your life, when you say, I'm just leaving, I don't want to be living there no more, they go, well, why not? What are you going to do out there? Do whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
However plays out is going to play out, what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right?
Right.
So it's, but I would never go back I wouldn't go to a suburb, I wouldn't go to a city area, like to live, obviously.
You got out.
Yeah, like I would never go back.
Never go back.
There's certain feelings when you're just out, just by yourself, and like that. Just,
Freedom.
yeah, yeah.
The taste of freedom.
Yeah. I love the animals. I love like birds in the morning, birds in the night, type of thing.
Simple things.
Yeah.
That if you was back here, you'd never even recognize it. Learn how to live. All right, hey, bless y'all. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Thank you, Pastor.